And we are back. This is the Law of Live Audio Wrestling, where we always ask the question, what's a work? Because really, that's really what it's about, right? Everybody out here trying to figure out what's a work. And some of the things that we talk about where we try to figure out what's a work, it happens to be boxing. And it looks like Devin Haney, tell me about this. Devin Haney has entered the pool. He's jumping back into the deep end, but he's jumping in with VADA because this is going to be a year-long thing. What do you know about this?
Yes, he is jumping in at the deep end. I mean, this is part of me when I was doing a bit of reading again for this today. When I looked at this story, I looked at it on face value and thought, yeah, that's great. There are issues with VADA. There are people who say, well, VADA's not very good, and VADA, they don't chase people and all of that. So what VADA will be saying is, well, we have an all-round testing scheme that we'd like people to join up to, and Devin Haney, I think, is the first big name to join up to that. Now, that's great, and on face value, I'm all for that. However, I think this also might have something to do with the Ryan Garcia stuff, because I think he might. I mean, I'm expecting this week for him to come out to say, I joined the all-round VADA testing. Will you do that, Ryan G? And I think we're going to get that. So VADA are probably going to... Sure, I mean, they must be thinking, hooray! Hold on a minute. So they could have a bit of a problem on their hands, but generally, it's a great thing.
Yes, generally, because you've got guys that when you go into that pool with VADA and you're there year-round, whether you're inside of a camp, whether you're outside of a camp, the problem I see with VADA is the fact that I don't know if they have enough manpower to take care of the things that they're taking care of. And you know as well as I do, Steve, that just because you are entered into a piss pool, all right, or a blood pool or a hair pool or whatever the hell it is, that you got to submit to these people, you know as well as I do, brother, there's ways to get around these things, right? So does Devin Haney go the course? Here's the question I got to ask for you. Does Devin Haney go the course and stay, quote, quote, clean inside of this testing pool? Or is Devin Haney going to become another one of these fighters who is so frustrated with the system, so frustrated with the outcome, that he himself tries to look for a little bit of a shortcut?
I mean, that will be very interesting. First of all, I'm fascinated with your fist pool, blood pool thing. Are these the different parts of the VADA all-round testing thing? You can have a fist pool or you have a blood pool. Choose which one. Well, hang on a minute. Just tell me what I have to do. I think it would be very interesting if Devin Haney became a kind of test case and was looking for ways to, I'm like a sort of inside, like a sort of spy in the camp who was saying, well, actually, I'm just trying to find the ways to beat this system, and I'm only doing it for your own good. I can't see that. Surely, I mean, he's got to be, now he's doing all of the Ryan Garcia thing, he's got to be sure that there's nothing that's tainted. There is no tainted meat or beverage in my fridge, and I'll be completely clean. And that's hard. I mean, he's setting himself up, isn't he? Because although VADA are thinking, great, that all year round thing, even when you're off camp, he's got to stay on camp. He's got to walk around. He's got to walk around boxing match ready. I mean, clearly I do that. I mean, obviously you can see, but some people don't, and that's going to be very interesting. He's going to have to say, I'm not quite sure I can have that. Can I just phone VADA and see if I can? Here's a protein bar. Just a minute. Is that VADA? I mean, how do you do that? It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be very interesting because I think that one of the things, and you know as well as I do, that as a fighter inside of camps, you try to look for an edge. So new supplements are coming in, new ideas are coming in. You know what I mean? Your diet comes into effect. Now, we've seen this before in the past with other guys. We've seen where it's like, tainted supplement. Listen, if you don't know at that level of competition, if you don't know every single little thing that's going into your body, brother, have I got a few things to sell to you, because that is just not the case. And we've seen this before. And you mentioned, diet, and you mentioned, let's talk horse meat for a second, because one of the other guys that we're talking about this week is Canelo. And we saw this happen before with Canelo and it is the tainted horse meat. I don't know. Okay. Right.
That's great. That's great. I felt he was in the room with me then.
It's spot on, as you say over there, right? Listen, if anything has taught us about boxing, and especially what Canelo Alvarez has taught us about boxing, is that you can move up in weight and you can do whatever you want. But if you're a big enough star, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's not going to affect your brand that much. And further to your point about you kind of know when, with a supplement, there's the bit of the Ryan Garcia story, isn't there? I can't remember what the guy was called. Was he called Squeezy or Lefty or something like that? He provided me with the supplement. Well, really, I mean, you're looking for someone with doctor in front of their name, not someone who says, I'll meet you in the car park and give you a bag full of supplements. That's not really what you want, is it?
No,
So,
no, it's not the same.
To know.
It's not the same as going, hey, my friends are getting married, so I'm going to go get myself ordained online as a priest so that I can conduct this wedding. No. I'm sorry. Listen, lefty gunplay is not your source for medical treatments if you're inside of the world of boxing. That's just not going to happen. Here's my question for you, since we're talking about all of this, and now we've wandered over into the Canelo Alvarez field. Is Canelo Alvarez done? And the reason I say this is because obviously age is a factor, right? The ability to get big fights is a factor. His biggest fight right now seems to be something that he may be avoiding in Terrence Crawford. What do you think about all this with Canelo?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, as soon as he did the I don't really want to fight William Skull stuff, and I'll decide who I fight, then that, as I've said before on another podcast, you don't want to fight somebody called Skull, do you? I want to fight somebody called Journeyman. Tony Journeyman. I'll fight him. He's the one. Tony falls down easily. I'll do him. And the thing is that because of that the guilt's off the gingerbread with that, and there's no way he wants to fight Bud Crawford. But there comes a point where it's like an exhibition. So really, if we follow this down the line, and he's saying, I don't want to fight them, I will not fight them, that might be my mandatory, but I don't want it, then at some point, then all of those bodies are going to say, well, then see ya. And it won't affect his brand. That's the thing. The sad thing for boxing, no belt around the waist does not affect your brand. It may be an exhibition, and you think, and for me, I'd be thinking, what's the point of that? These are two going nowhere fighters now, not in the title picture. But really, people will still put their hands in their pockets for that. Yeah, and I mean, it could be, he could be done as a top line fighter, but he's still. Well, he could be done as a top-line fighter in the boxing of boxing, but he's not in the business of boxing, or the bullshit of boxing, as you'd like to call it. So he's not. He's not done yet at all.
Yeah, because I saw the switch in your eyes when you said that, because we all know that there's another realm. There's a whole nother world for these guys out there in the world of, quote, influencer boxing, as it were, right? And we've heard this before with Canelo. How, that's the fight that Jake Paul wants, because that's the big money fight or whatever. And it looks like his brother is getting, Conor McGregor. It looks like all things are coming up Paul, it seems like, right? I think, and you said this, that it doesn't affect his brand. Has there ever been a time that you can think of in the world of boxing where a belt has affected somebody negatively inside of their brand? because the belt only affects you positively. But because we have people, Tyson Fury doesn't have a belt. His brand is huge. Canelo has a lot of belts. His brand is huge. Ryan Garcia doesn't have any belts, and his brand is huge as well. So there's guys out there, right?
Yeah, the words in undisputed don't really mean, or that word undisputed doesn't mean much at the moment.
Yeah.
I take your point, because never have I seen a time where having a belt could stop you getting the match that we all want. So you could say, well, actually, I think we all want to see him go over there and fight that person. Well, we can't now because we need to talk about belts. And who's your mandatory? And by the time your mandatory's done, they're gone. So there is an issue, and there has been for many years, but there certainly is now with influencer boxing as well, and people legitimate boxers dipping their toes into that. That you think, well, it doesn't really matter if you've got a belt. I mean, Usyk has all the belts, but does anybody ever mention it? No, they don't. I mean, it's tossed around the word undisputed, but it doesn't really matter. We know he's the best heavyweight boxer in the world. I know that. I think everybody else knows that. It doesn't really matter how many belts he has. We know that, and that's a difficult situation for boxing. But somebody like Turkey Al Sheikh will love that, because that plays into the hands of the league, and all of that, the boxing league.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I got a question for you, because we're talking about boxers that don't have belts. We're talking about boxers that are huge names. And one of those names that you got to, and we've mentioned it before in the past, and what's he going to be doing? And he shouldn't be doing anything until the new year. Shouldn't even be talking words until the new year. Well, guess what, Steve? It's the new year. And I want to know from you, what the hell does Anthony Joshua really want?
I'm not ready to stop. I'm not ready to stop yet. Are you not? Okay, he was in Nigeria. He went to see the King of Nigeria, and got some nice pictures. And he wants Tyson Fury for reasons. He wants Tyson Fury. I mean, there's money to be made, but then neither of them need the money, I don't think. I think that, I don't know. I'm lost on this one, because I don't know why you would want to continue. Nobody's coming out and saying, Eddie Hearn's not even saying, you've got to continue, mate. I've seen nothing from him, and he's quite voluble with all the chat. I've not come across him saying that fighter must continue. He must keep fighting. I mean, he said, the match that we should make is Tyson Fury versus AJ. Yes. And of course he will do that, roll up and all that. But at no point is anybody saying, my God, you can't retire yet. Quite the opposite. I don't quite know. He's saying, I wasn't right that night. I mean, he's not exactly saying this, but what he's hinting is, I wasn't right that night against Dubois, but I'll be right next time. Will you? Well, I mean, I can say I'm going to run a 4-minute mile tomorrow. I'm not, but I can say last time I tried to run a 4-minute mile and it took me 45 minutes. That was just me on a bad. But this time I'm going to run a 4-minute mile. I'm going to give everybody £100 if I can't. So I'm not making that bet, by the way. No, don't take that bet. I'm not making that bet. But don't be doing that. Don't be doing that. But yeah, I'm going to be better next time. I don't believe you, son. I really don't, because we've had this psychology stuff, and I don't think that's disappeared, has it?
And is that really the thing, though? Because you know as well as I do, a boxer's job and the promoter's job is to try to get people to watch the event. So the best way for him to say that and to get people to do that is to say those exact things. Listen, let's not talk about the past. Let's talk about the future. And I don't want to talk about the past because I wasn't good in the past, but in the future, I'm going to be better. But what can he really do to convince you of that is a different question, right? Because it's been happening for years with boxers all the time. One guy that's never had to say, I wasn't that good last time and I'm going to be better next time, is a guy who has an undefeated record. If you have an undefeated record, it means one of two things, sometimes even both of those things, to me. Anyways, maybe not to other people, but to me. Number one, it means, because in the world of boxing, that maybe that first half of your record was a little padded. And it means the second thing is that maybe that second half of your resume has been filled with people that you cherry picked. And I'm talking about Floyd Mayweather. And we've mentioned this before with Floyd. and it's easy to do because let's talk about Canelo's first loss was when he wasn't ready for it. And Floyd knew this, and he picked up on a Canelo and said, no, I got to beat him now because later on, I'm not going to be able to beat him. And that's exactly what happened. And Floyd went on this run and he cherry picked and he was called Money Mayweather. And he's got this, his whole thing is being, I'm about money. I'm the money weight. I'm not this. It's money, 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 Money Mayweather. Is Money Mayweather out of money?
Please, Floyd, can I have some more? More? Yeah, that's what the. I don't think that actually happened, but that is essentially what the workers at the Floyd Mayweather Boxing and Fitness organization building are saying. Now, breaking news on this, but I'll tell you what happened. But they've gone on strike. They're not being paid, and they've gone on strike. So they're holding up signs saying money has no money, and also saying that it's some kind of forced labour. So, I mean, that's big stuff to say. Now, what's been said recently is Mayweather's been quiet about this, silent. What's been said recently is that, well, it's a franchise, and so money doesn't have any really, well, it got money involved in it, but it doesn't have any kind of, well, actually, I think they're implying he hasn't. I think they're implying it's just his name, and he gets a payment, but actually it's nothing to do with him. But if you put your name on something, then that's going to be a problem, isn't it? Now, he has just dropped $610 million to buy up property. So he's doing that next. That's his property portfolio. That can sometimes leave you a little stretched unless you've got financial partners. I don't know. But I do think that it's not a good look for Mayweather. And it's not good that he's let this story fester for a few days and really not come in and said, come on, I've got loads of cash. We'll get this sorted out. This has nothing to do with me. Obviously, it's got to be. However, as well as that, if you have too many brands and companies and organizations in your portfolio and you're not keeping your eye on them, that's a problem as well. You need somebody at your right hand who is going to say, I'll sort that for you. Don't you worry. If it's got away from him, that's another issue as well. Not good for his brand. And I also would dispute whether he looked good last time out as well, because last time out he replaced the sodding ref. So he didn't look good then either. I'm not a Mayweather fan. I'm not. And although I recognise the skill he's got, but really you have to also organise your after boxing career. And so few people can do it. And this may be an issue for him. I still think he's got loads of cash, but it's not a good look, particularly when people are accusing you of forced labour or something like that.
It's wild because, this would really be the equivalency, in my opinion, of going after Ronald McDonald for something that you got bad at a McDonald's. Yes, I get it. A bunch of franchises and stuff like that, and you've just sold out your name. You've hoarded out your name, so to speak. And that's fine. That's fine. Go right ahead. But know that you have to also have a responsibility because of your brand, because of your name. And the fact that he hasn't come out and said anything yet is more damning, in my opinion. I mean, let's be honest. Everybody's like, oh, we're gonna let this blow over till it goes away, but it doesn't. Those people still need to get their money. They still need to get paid. They still need to eat. It's wacky to think about. Hopefully Mayweather gets this stuff figured out because, listen, his name is synonymous with boxing. His promotion is doing, he's got good fighters under his brand. He needs to be concentrating more on that and less on all of this other stuff that's going on, this auxiliary action going on around him. Steve, we are all out of time. Once again, this is unbelievable how this happens. Let all of the people know where they can get a hold of you, where they can check you out and stalk you.
Yes. Well, first of all, let me say that branding is good, and you can all buy the Steve Swift World Weary Guy thong at the following places. Not really. I see you nodding. I know you've ordered at least 6 dozen of them. I know that XXXXXXXL. I know that, and yeah, indeed, I understand that. I'll be on YouTube as World Weary Guy 1. I'll be on TikTok, the Tick and the Talk, as Steve.Swift 088. Is there a dot there? I think it's just Steve Swift 088. I'm on X as World Weary Guy. I'm on Blue Sky as World Weary Guy. I love to chat. do come back to me and say, I really dislike what you're doing, Steve, or I really like it. Either way, we'll have a discourse. It'll be nice.
100%. For all of the rest of you, please, you can do that all right here as well on the Law, where we ask the question, what's a work? You can leave a comment, leave a thumbs up, like it, share it, do all of those fun things. Steve, always a pleasure to hang out with you, my friend. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the world of boxing. We got some big stuff coming up. There's no doubt about it. And for the rest of you, we're going to be right back to wrap this whole thing up. Don't go anywhere.
About sports discussions. This is the law. This is the law.